I want to thank you for coming tonight. This is the 2025 Meet the Candidates Forum, and you're all welcome to fill out the cards and so that we can address the candidates that we have here tonight. First, I'd like to thank all of the candidates for agreeing to appear and reveal themselves and answer the questions that are posed by your constituents.
Watch out,
We appreciate you taking the time, and you appreciate the offer to fill these positions. It means a lot to all the citizens here in town. We have, this year, we have 4 people running for 2 openings on the Select Board. Suzanne Bryan, Jerry Cursavel, Saracel, I'll never get it right. Give me a couple more years. Brian Early and Dave Hobbs. For the Elementary School Committee, we have 2 people are running, Sarah Higgins and Lindsay Palmer. For the Nauset Regional School Committee, we have Maura Noonan Carey. For the Library Board of Trustees, we have Bob Harnett, Sarah Higgins, Mike Narachi. I should practice this before now. And Robin Rowe. So our moderator tonight is Teresa Martin, and she's been doing this for a while, so don't give her a hard time. She knows what she's doing. So Linda Fisher will be the timekeeper. You'll have a set period of time that will be determined by Teresa. She'll tell you what that is depending on what part of the program we're in. And there'll be a signal that they'll flap their wings or wave their hands or throw a rock so that you know that you have your time's just about up and you need to wrap up. This presentation's been put on by the Eastham Chamber of Commerce, the Eastham Dog Owners Association, and the Lower Cape TV. We hope you have a good time and enjoy yourselves, relax. These are all your friends and neighbors, so answer comfortably, relax, and get into a position where you can just respond to these people. Anyway, Teresa, you're up.
Well, hi, thank you. I can't believe how many people are here tonight. This is really exciting. Can those questions in? More questions? Last call for questions. And it's actually not the last call. If you think of things on the way, you can keep sending them up. But one of the things, the reason we do it this way is it helps to organize the conversation. So some of you have been here before, but many of you haven't. And we find it really helpful to, be able to keep a focus on the topics one by one and not have it be scattershot. And so that's what the cards are for. We're going to go from Select Board down to Library, and we're going to do each group at a time. And in each group, each of you is going to say your name and do a brief, less than 2-minute introduction to yourself and why you want to be elected. And then we're going to ask the questions. So without further ado, let's start with the Select Board candidates. We'll start and just work our way through.
All right, so hi, my name is Suzanne Bryan. I'm one of your current Select Board members. I attended Eastham Elementary School, graduated from Nauset in 2007. I have an undergraduate degree in environmental studies and international studies. I have a graduate certificate in GIS and slowly working on a Master's of Science in spatial informatics. And one of the things that I took away from my education, other than would you rather be right or would you rather be effective, was that change and positive change and impact happens at all sorts of levels. And so it doesn't matter necessarily what the issue is or what the level it's at, it is important to be involved. And so this was the way that I have chosen to be involved. And I feel fortunate to live in a community that has a lot of people who are involved, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like municipal government. We have plenty of people who volunteer their time for all sorts of things, whether it's our little plant the island group who does our plants, or like Wild Care. People offer their time, and it definitely makes our community a better place for it. And with that, everyone's going to say our community is the best community, but I would say one of the things that I have really appreciated about Eastham is that there's a set of rather core values throughout the community, and I feel like that has made my job on the select board rather easy and as least stressful as possible. And so things like when you're asked to support the library, people come out and they vote and they support the library. And when we ask for safe staffing levels for our first responders, people come out and they support and they vote for that. When asked about the environment, people support the environment. The community supports education. And then we differ over things of like the details, not necessarily should we support this or not. It's a yes, we should support this, and then work out the details later. And so I don't ever want to take that for granted, and I hope you don't either.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Jerry Searsell, and I've been on the select board for 3 years, and I want to thank the chamber and the dog owners in Lower Cape for doing this, and thank all of you for coming. And one thing, please vote on May 20th, however you vote. If you're not going to be there, I've got some St. ballot applications here that you can get and just get it and vote. I've lived in Eastham since 2013. I've been on the select board for 3 years, chairman of the finance committee, chairman of the Eastham Housing Authority, and on the Community Preservation Act committee. I have a BA in government and economics and a law degree from the University of Virginia, which I had the Army time. I was drafted in the middle of that. I worked mostly in Washington, D.C. Some of the jobs, the attorney advisor to chairman of the Federal Trade Commission, a deputy general counsel of a committee in the House of Representatives, and senior vice president of government affairs of a trade association. One of the things I love about Eastham is that we work together. On all the committees, everything I've been on, everybody works together. We don't always agree, but we work together and we laugh together, which is great. The most frustration I've had on the board is in taxes, the need for what's coming. What's happened is that Eastham has kicked the can down the road. When I was in high school, towns around here put in water. We didn't. We put a cap over the landfill instead of a lining underneath that allowed for seepage into there. And then we didn't vote on time for water. And that delay of 2 years cost us 0% interest, which will cost us over the life of paying those loans $70 million. So that's the frustrating thing about me. What we have to look forward to, one of the jobs we have to do is we have to hire a new town manager. Jackie is going to be retiring sometime soon. We have to figure out after the June special meeting, what are we going to do about wastewater? Whatever the town comes up with, we have to decide what we want to do. And then we're also working on a new agreement with the school committee to try and get us more involved with the budgeting at the school, and also to try and level out the payments of what comes on. So that's where I'm at. What I'm really proud of is that we have a capital plan now, that we will have maintenance, plans to buy cruisers, plans to buy ambulances. We neglected this place for 20 years. And to correct it was an outrageous overrun of what the budget was, because every time they did anything, they found something that was rotted. So those are things that I found frustrating. Those are things that are coming forward. I'm going to listen to everybody, and I try to be as fair as possible.
Awesome.
So,
thank you very much. Next.
Good evening. My name is Brian Early. I have been a resident since 1995 over Sundown Lane between North and South Sunken Meadow. This is my first try at the select board. And I kind of did it on a, well, not really on a whim, but I was at one of the town meetings, and Jerry and Suzanne gave me a ballot to sign, and I said, geez, I can do that too. So I visited the town clerk upstairs and got the ballot, the petition, and circulated it, and found out that it was nothing like in New York State, where you have to get like 10,000 signatures in order to get on a ballot. It was only 36. So I said, you know, I'm interested in finding out more about how Eastham and how the town meetings and portray themselves, and really kind of develop this area, because I love the Cape. I loved Eastham. We've been coming here since I was very small. And I'm just happy to be running for another board besides the planning board. I've enjoyed the planning board over the past 4 years, and I said, well, let's see what else I can do for the town, and hopefully I can do something good.
Great, thank you very much. And number 4.
Hi, I'm Dave Hobbs. We've had a house here for about 26 years, and we've lived here full-time for about the last, 9 years, I guess it is. I'm on several boards in town. I'm chairman of the Board of Assessors. I'm on the Planning Board. I'm on the CPA Committee. And all of those have different functions and different things that I like and dislike. My favorite one really is the CPA Committee, because it just delves into so many different areas, and we give out money. So, and we give out things for good projects, and they're all relevant. So, I have a BS degree from Clark University. I have a master's in mediation from UMass Boston. I had my own company for 20 years. It was hydroelectric power, which was interesting because you had to delve with about 20 different agencies, being federal, state, and local. And sometimes it was difficult to balance those different interests and priorities. I sold that back in 2016 and came down here full-time. I would like to get onto the select board. As I said, I've had experience in a lot of different areas, and I think that experience plus my work experience would enable me to be a good candidate for the select board. There are many difficult decisions coming up for the select board, and there's a lot of divisions within the town. The RTE is one that's kind of tearing the town apart.
We'll go into that, so that's the question. Keep moving on.
But we have wastewater coming up, and of course, like Jerry said, Jackie Beebe needs to get replaced, and that's going to be tough shoes to fill. And so I'm hoping to be part of that. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I have 2 questions in the queue, but so before we start, I'm going to turn and look at everyone and say, does anyone else have anything else that they'd like to pass up?
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we have sort of 3 clusters for the select board. So what we'll do for the first cluster is I'm going to ask a question, and then each have 2 minutes to respond to it. And we started this way, so this time I'll start with Dave and go the opposite direction. And the first cluster is around what I might call managing for growth. And I'll read an example. Given the ecology and geology of the Cape, with Eastham in particular, how do you think growth and expansion in Eastham should be managed moving forward?
We've actually done a lot of work on zoning to try and manage that growth and to restrict certain types of growth that the citizens don't really, want to see, like big box stores and having mega mansions on little plots of land. I think we need to continue that. And right now, I mean, the town is actively doing that. There's a search, not a search committee, but the, I can't think of the name of the committee. There's a committee that looks at the zoning regulations and how we should change them. And they've been working, I think it's for the last 3, 4 years on that. And at town meeting, they've asked to have changes made in those. But they're going to continue to look at the zoning bylaws and to see where we need to toughen things up or maybe ease things a little bit. But nothing stays the same. And we need to be able to change with the times and with the problems that come about. So, thank you.
Thanks. Brian, what's your thoughts?
So I would say conservatively, the main things being the wastewater treatment, which will be a big investment for the town, the infrastructure, which is key to development, and then the whole issue of Route 6 and the plan that the planning department, Paul Legg and Jackie O'Rourke came up with was very intensive and forward-looking. And I also agree that well, I didn't support that plan as it was presented, but it's a good plan to have as an overall, as an overview. Because this town is changing, and that's why I said conservative would be, you know, the direction that we ought to go, because it is a fragile community, but it's also robust. You've got oceans on both, you got water on both sides, and we've got to figure out, all right, transportation, housing, what kind of businesses we can put. And there's one other thing I had, but I don't think I remember it right now, but yeah, so.
Thanks very much. Okay, Jerry, again, we're talking about how to manage future growth given ecology, geology, et cetera.
Right. Well, clearly, growth has been managed previously in Eastham by how much can you put on a septic system. And we're now looking at something different. We're under court order to try and do something with nitrogen. So that's clearly one of the big ways to look at managing it. And whatever we do in June is what the select board is going to have to figure out where to go on there. The other is zoning, and it's the zoning task force. And if you ever don't volunteer to go on something, don't go on the zoning task force. They've had to work for so long. But as we look to try and keep the rural type, vacation type town, but still having growth come and what happens. And so what we've done, I think the town has done great stuff in looking at changing the zoning and trying to work on that, and we have to do it. But one of the things to remember when we're here is that we can't pass any zoning law or any ordinance or anything like that that's going to stop the economics of someone who lives in Boston, lives in New York, who wants a vacation home, a second home on Cape Cod, to come in and purchase it. It's just not going, we just can't stop that. So we have to try and work with the zoning where we're at. And we've done it, and we have to understand that we have to tweak that. We're trying things, and some will work, some won't, and you have to end up tweaking it. So it's something you always have to constantly look at. But we have to just remember, we can't stop the economics. So we have to try and manage the plannings. Oh, there we go.
There is a warning. There you go.
Mine would have been a duck, you know, Groucho Marx with the duck hunt.
Thanks very much. Suzanne?
I would say that when I first heard about increased density, I definitely thought it was a dirty word, but density in our scenario is one of our best options to protect the environment and some of the more rural aspects of our town in focusing density where it makes sense to have slightly larger buildings with more housing, some mixed use of commercial and housing. And so, you know, as Jerry said, like, I mean, change happens. So you have to kind of work around it and make it look how you want it to look and feel how you want it to look, because we do only have so much capacity. This isn't Texas. We can't just do urban sprawl. Not that I would want to do urban sprawl anyway. So our zoning will always reflect our community's values to protect the environment and maintain the character in the size of the buildings, how the buildings look. I will note that we also passed the size to which you can make your house is relative to your lot size, so that is something the town already has done to address upcoming growth. But some of the plazas that we have in Eastham have been the same since I was a child, and they are going to be redeveloped, or you're going to have crumbling infrastructure, and like, which one do you want? So I really appreciate all of the work that the zoning task force has done to give us some zoning, because zoning wasn't meant to be made and put on a shelf. It needs to come with us for the times, and it's always going to be a collaborative conversation with stakeholders, you all, and the town as we create what Eastham will look like.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question. I'm trying to give each of you a chance to go first, so I'm kind of mixing it up a little bit here. The next one we'll start with Brian, and we'll go Brian, Dave, and loop around. And it's something I know people are definitely talking about, and I'm glad someone asked this. Are you concerned about the increasing adversity between full-time and part-time residents, and how do you think the town can fix this, or how should the town deal with this?
Well, as we saw this evening, or this afternoon, over at the library, it's kind of a contentious issue. We've got the Eastham non-residents taxpayers who are participants in the town, but they are not recognized in the voting. So not really sure which mix we ought to, but I know that there's a strong opposition to having some kind of non-resident influence. And so it's I would say it's just a contentious issue now, but I'm not going to offer any judgments or any solutions. I'm sorry. It's a tough issue that the town has to deal with, but probably in a deliberative manner. So.
Right, thank you. Jerry. I started in the middle of this time, so which way should I go to confuse everybody?
No,
But I'm
no.
going to keep you jumping.
No problem. I think one of the, when I bought a house here with someone in 1988, and who was living in it, she was renting from her brother, and she had to move. And the house is filled as a full-timer in 2013 when my wife Jan and I moved up here. So that kind of thing happens, and that's what's going on. But one of the things that, for me, is that our non-resident taxpayers are our neighbors as well. And I watch their house, and sometimes they're watching mine. You can help and so forth. So I think we have to think about that. And you know, I mean, you're here, you're interested. You know that I voted against the residential tax exemption. But I will say, once it's in place, I will not vote to get rid of it, because if you get this $500 savings and then you get rid of the
That's the next
RTEs, it's
question
$500
coming.
right in.
Don't go down that rabbit hole
Oh, hold on
yet.
that one.
Hold that rabbit hole.
RTE. Well, please. So we have we got this from the state, a residential taxpayer assistance fund. Now, we've put in $50,000 at the town meeting, and the non-residents have given us $2,000. So there's $52,000 in there that goes to people who need it. Now, we can fund that some more, and I think that that's something that we can look at to try and stop the animosity between residents and non-residents, or we're taxpayers, to see if we can help people who are residents by giving them, just actually handing them money to pay for their taxes. And so I think we can do things like that.
Thank you very much. And RT is coming up next. I think this question gets at the changed relationship between part-time and full-time residents here. And Suzanne, what do you think? What can the town do? How can we look at this dynamic?
Well, the town certainly tries to address the needs of all of its residents through the various programs and staffing that you have in the town. And so there's that. There is a different lived experience between a group of people who calls one place home 365 days a year and people who visit for fun time. And those are just always going to be inherently different. And we are all neighbors, and we all have friends and long-term friends and neighbors who are of one group or the other. And I think there is a frustration around full-time residents not feeling understood as to the impact that living in a vacation community has on their lives. And I feel like if there was acknowledgement of like, this makes these things harder in XYZ ways, that would probably go a long way. I think that maybe is my whole statement on it.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And Dave.
It's certainly a divisive problem, the non-residents versus the residents. The non-residents are generally here for a short period of time, and like Suzanne said, they're here for fun and vacation. The full-time residents are here all year long on committees or just trying to eke out their survival. My belief is that we really need to take care of the full-time people, especially the seniors, those people that are retired and on fixed incomes. If you have a second house, a lot of times it's not easy to afford that. That's true. And we have many people that have very expensive homes and have the means to, afford them. And unfortunately, I think we need to protect the people that live here year-round. And if that means that some of those non-residents are going to have to sell their places because they can't afford them, that's unfortunate, but that's life in some respects.
Thank you. So this last question, and there were many variations on this same question, you all know what it is, which is residential tax exemption. What's your position and why? And what I'd like to do, I'm going to start with Jerry, because he was ready to go.
Well, I didn't start yet, so this is my turn. Yeah.
And I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes to answer that question. And then because I know it's such an important topic for people, we'll give everyone 1 more minute after everyone's spoken to add anything they'd like to add after that. Okay, so Jerry, your 2 minutes starts.
Right. I'm one of the people, one of the 2 on the select board that voted against implementing the RTE. And it's really simple. I want to help people who live here to afford to live here, who own a house. And so here's what the RTE does. It says, Jerry, here's how you do it. You give yourself a tax cut and make your neighbor pay for it. That just violates everything that my parents, teachers, clergy, coaches have ever taught me on ethics. And so that's why I'm opposed to it, especially when we have that residential taxpayer assistance fund. If we can fund that and put money in there, we can help people who need it. And that's where I sit. And it's one of the other things is that the non-resident taxpayers aren't just awful people here. I came from a town in Virginia, 55% of the budget went for schools, not counting bond issues. Here, it's less than 30% counting the bond issues. And why, and part of that is because we have, the non-resident taxpayers are paying taxes just like we are. So we have to look at it both ways. And I think we need to, I really think we need to, as a town, put some money into that residential taxpayer assistance fund, help people who need it, and residents who need it, and let's get that done that way. But I will not vote, once it's in, I will not vote to remove it, because if you got a $500 tax break and we remove it, it's a $500 before there's any tax increase, 2x4 in your face. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you. And you get another minute after everyone's had their turns. Suzanne?
Well, the residential tax exemption is a tool that was given to us by the state. It's a number of decades old. I think it's possible that it's older than I am. Not that all of you are going to think I'm very old, but it's been around for quite some time, and it is a tool given to us by the state. I like to remind people that the state sets what we can and can't do with taxes, and so even like the meals tax, I think we had to opt into it. The veterans exemption, we have to opt into it, and so we don't really have a whole lot of control at a local level to customize taxing people, and you probably wouldn't want us to either, so the state sets it. So of all of the things that the select board does, this is a important one. We set the tax rate, and this is one of the tools that we have to encourage year-round residency and to help keep people in their homes. And yeah, I've already said a lot about this in our personal meeting. So yeah, I voted to support it because I am here for any tools to help people who live in Eastham to try and make it a affordable place for them to live and stay, and for young families. The barrier to access for this program is lower than other ones that sometimes ask a lot of information about your income. So I appreciate the program for that, but also in the realm of all of the things that the select board does, this is a small but important piece of the work that we do. So.
Thank you. Dave?
Big question. As the chairman of the Board of Assessors, I actually voted against the RTE. And the reason I did that was similar to Jerry. I really think that it's important to try to treat all people equally. In retrospect, though, I've done a lot of soul searching and a lot of investigation, and the residential tax exemption is a good start. However, that's $500 for 2 years only, and that's it. Whereas the residential tax exemption, if it goes through, would be forever. And many people would get more than $500 off of their taxes for however long they live. And I think that's an important distinction. Unfortunately, it hurts people. You can have neighbors on both sides, both of them being non-residents. One makes a ton of money and it's not going to make any real difference to them, and the people on the other side, they're just getting by and it will make a difference to them. But we have to remember to take care of those people that live here year-round. And the seniors, I mean, the residential tax exemption will really help the seniors, those people that are on fixed incomes. Our taxes have doubled in the last 10 years. And although we all get a little bit of increases from Social Security, it doesn't add up to what our taxes have increased by. So I think that we really need to have the RTE in order to help people for multiple years, both young and old. So.
Thank you. Brian?
So when I owned a house in upstate New York, thank you, Jerry. So I owned a house in upstate New York in 2000, and I was traveling back and forth. I was a veteran, and they offered me a tax exemption. And it was a significant tax exemption. And so I said, of course I'm going to take that. And it was very, very beneficial to me, and it allowed me to carry the house for a little bit longer. So in general, I am in favor of tax exemptions, but you have to look at the overarching principle, what's behind any kind of tax exemption. Does that mean that does that make it unfair for, like, say, me, who is a veteran, therefore I have my tax rate lower than my neighbor who may be paying more than I? I don't know. I don't know what as Suzanne said, that money was granted to Eastham and they had some design in what they were doing. I just don't know what it, so I'm not sure exactly where I would fall on this.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, I don't know where I would fall on this particular issue, but. Is that Avon calling? So, yeah. I guess that's the end of my,
That was certainly a good little break there. I promise you each one more minute, because this is an important topic, and you've kind of heard these different views. And so I'd like to, in the same order we went before, to take one more minute and add any of your kind of conclusive thoughts about RTE.
Sure. The state granted this in 1979, Suzanne, and it was, the maximum was 10%. And then it went up to 20, then it went up to 35. And if you're a seasonal community, as we approved, it can go up to 50. And as someone who's worked in government for a long time, when it goes like that, it simply means it didn't work. It didn't do what it was supposed to do at 10%. It didn't do it at 20. It isn't doing it at 35. I don't know whether it will do it at 50 if it ever gets up to that. But the other thing, if we're going to do RTE, I want it to do it right, so just as apply for it. If you don't, we have to hold a certain amount. We have $200,000 in there right now, aside, because if you apply later and you've paid your taxes, we have to give you money back. So let's free up our free cash and apply. Let's go to the town clerk, do it, or excuse me, the assessor's office, and apply. Even though I'm opposed to it, everybody should apply because it's going to save Eastham funds in the short term.
Thank you. Suzanne, your last 1 minute of thinking on this topic.
Well, the official vote to set the policy is going to come maybe the first week of September to give the town as much time to implement the registration of people. And I would say that as the board stands now with its current membership, you would still get the RTE if there were no changes in membership to the board. And shameless pitch for myself and Jerry. Jerry has been delightful. And as and I've appreciated that both he and Bob have, while they didn't vote in favor of it, they haven't thus then been like obstructionist about it, which has been helpful. But again, the board covers many different topics. This is just one of them, and that should also be taken into consideration.
Great. Dave?
Where to start? I'll start with kind of backing up Jerry. Yes, you need to apply, not only because of the fact that if you don't, we have a problem with cash flow, but if you don't apply, you will be taxed as if you were a non-resident and have to pay the greater amount. It is not an automatic thing, and you will need to do this each year. So it's extremely important, and all of you should apply. And you can get help to do that. It's not an onerous type of thing. It's just showing proof that you're a full-time resident, and that's pretty much it. So that's it, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Gosh, I've forgotten the question.
Your 1 minute, your 1 minute second thought on the topic.
Well, if I had to put it, our tax is too high. That's, not sure where I'm going to go with this. But I would say yes, especially looking at the fact that 20% of our total tax intake is to pay for servicing our debt. Now, there's something kind of wrong with that. But I think that's a misalignment, not only in the town, but I would say it goes levels up. And that's the best I can do with it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to all four of our Select Board candidates, Suzanne Bryan, Jerry Saracel, Brian Easley, and Dave Hobbs. Thank you very much for your input. Oh, gosh. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. It's always good to have a second set of ears hearing things. So now we're going to move on to the school grouping. Last call for anybody who has any questions for either the Eastham School Committee or the Nauset Regional School Committee. Okay, hearing none, and we have none, I'm going to actually use this time to have each of you introduce yourself. So say your name, tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us why you're doing this and what you hope you'll see in the 3-year term that you're, because these are not, basically people you see here will be the people that you will be voting for. So I'd like to hear and share what you would see in your 3-year term, briefly.
So hi there, my name is Lindsay Palmer and I'm running for the Eastham School Committee. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a former educator, an editor at an education technology company, a novelist, and the parent of a 2nd grade student at Eastham Elementary. I'm running for school committee in order to be an advocate for EES students. I believe all our students have the right to get their educational needs met and to receive a high-quality education. So I plan to work to make sure that funding is directed to best support student needs and to ensure that the school curriculum is comprehensive, inclusive, and equipping students with the knowledge and tools they'll need to succeed and thrive. I believe my background in various roles set me up well for achieving these goals. I have a BA from the University of Pennsylvania and a master's in education from Columbia. I taught high school English for several years at a public school in Manhattan, where I worked with students from a wide range of backgrounds. Some were immigrants who spoke different languages at home, some had different learning needs, and many were dealing with other challenges. As much as my job was to teach these kids academic skills, it was also to get to know them as people to figure out how to best support them. For the past decade, I've been the deputy editor at the ed tech company BrainPop, where we create short animated movies to be shown in elementary and middle school classrooms nationwide, including throughout the Nauset School District. I've been in the trenches working with state and national education standards and curriculums and learning about the needs and challenges of different school districts. And in addition to my work experiences in education, I'm also a dedicated member of the EES community. I'm one of 2 second grade class parents, plus a member of the PTA, and a regular volunteer at school events. I know how much a strong school community depends on involved and caring participants, and I'd like to get more involved. I also know I still have a lot to learn. I'm relatively new to Eastham. My family moved here 5 years ago, and I've discovered it's a special community with unique attributes and needs. I look forward to learning more so that I can do my part to support EES students and the school at large. I hope my fellow Eastham residents will support me in my bid to join the school committee.
Thank you very much. Yes, you.
Okay, great, thanks. Hi, I'm Sarah Higgins. I'm running for re-election on the Eastham Elementary School Committee. I have been living in Eastham full-time with my 2 young daughters for the past 4 years, but I've been coming to Eastham my entire life. My family has a long history here. Before moving here, I worked in finance for almost 20 years, advising community banks on how to manage their interest rate risk. And when I had my first child later in life, I decided to retire and focus on being a mom. So my oldest is in kindergarten at Eastham Elementary, which was the impetus for me to get involved in the school committee, and then I have a 2-year-old at home as well. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity to see how the school works from not only the parents' perspective, but from being on the committee and getting to work closely with the principal and also the superintendent. In my first year on the school committee, I volunteered to be on the search committee for the new superintendent, which was a fantastic opportunity to learn about the Nauset regional school system, which is just one of a kind in that it's wonderful, but also that it's incredibly complex. And it was great to meet all the other folks in the other towns on the school committee and in the regional committee. And it's the things that you think you're going to get involved in on the school committee before you're there is one thing, and then you get in the trenches and it's another. So I look forward to continuing to work with being the community representative on the budget, as I know that's a sensitive topic in the community, and just supporting the wonderful teachers and administrators we have at the school.
Thank you very much. And thank you to both of our elementary school committee candidates, Sarah Higgins and Lindsay Palmer. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Nauset Regional School Committee. We have 1 candidate. Introduce yourself.
Excellent. Good evening. I want to thank the Eastham Chamber of Commerce and the Eastham Dog Owners Association and Lower Cape TV for the opportunity to join you this evening. My name is Maura Noonan-Carey. I've lived in Eastham year-round for 24 years, and before that, I was fortunate to spend summers here for 2 decades. I'm excited to run for re-election to the Nauset Regional School Committee as a representative of the town of Eastham. For the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to serve on the Nauset Regional School Committee, and then for 6 years before that, I was on the Eastham Elementary School Committee, and both have added significant value to my life, and I hope to the work of the school committee and the school community. And for those of you who may be new to the whole elementary regional school committee, each town in our district has an elementary school committee which supports the work of the elementary schools, and then the regional school committee is focused on the work of the middle and high school, just to give you a sense of the difference there. So I currently run my own small business supporting local nonprofit organizations, and with 23 years of experience in the nonprofit sector on Cape Cod, I have a strong awareness of our community's needs and strengths and a network of connections to refer to as resources. I'm running for re-election to the Nauset Regional School Committee to support and strengthen what makes the Nauset Public Schools an incredible place to learn and grow. When I consider my role on the school committee, one of the most important things I bring at this point is experience. Over the past 9 years, my experience on the 2 school committees has included reviewing, deliberating, voting on, and monitoring school budgets and policies. In addition, I've participated in evaluating and hiring our superintendent. I've also had the opportunity to participate in and lead the Joint School Committee, which convenes all the Nauset Public School Committees. We've covered topics ranging from school security and safety, student transportation, MCAS testing, student wellness, bullying technology, and I won't go on. There's much more. Beyond this core work, I've served as a school committee liaison to several subcommittees supporting the district's work, including strategic planning, the district's educational assistant bargaining team, budget and finance, communications, our regional agreement, and building use. I've also participated in the recent superintendent search committee with Sarah. And I'm the parent of a high school student, which provides such insight into the ongoing successes, opportunities, and challenges within our schools. It also allows me to be accessible to other parents and caregivers. Altogether, these experiences have created a strong foundation as I run for re-election to the seat on the Nauset Regional School Committee. And in answer to your question about this term, I would say we have a new superintendent that will be starting on July 1st. So I look forward to working with him to help, him get to know folks in the district, the different stakeholders. We also have done, I think, a good amount of work over the last year or two to work more closely with our town finance committee and the select board to work on our budgeting process to make it as transparent as possible for the town and different groups to see. So we're going to continue that work and much more. But those are two things I would highlight.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you to our candidate for Nauset Regional School Committee, Maura Noonan-Carey. Okay, now we're on to the library. Last call for questions. Okay, so we have 3 questions for the Library Board of Trustees. And as we've done before, we'll start here. Very briefly, because we're running out of time now, very briefly say your name, why you're doing this, right? And then we'll do the questions back and forth. Okay.
Okay, I'm Sarah Higgins, and I'm running for re-election for the Board of Trustees of the library. We have a fantastic library. I go there often. It's wonderful to go as an adult. It's wonderful to go if you have kids. And I just really wanted to be a part of it and support it. And there was an opening last year, so I ran for the trustees. And it's just a fabulous group to work with and to support our wonderful library director, Melanie. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Yeah, you also pass it around between each of you.
Hi, my name is Bob Harnett, and I'm running for the library board for 2 real reasons. People have the ability to wrap themselves in their own little information cocoons and not get outside perspectives on lots of things. And we are so fortunate to have the library that we have in this community. And the role that it can play is really threefold. It can provide access to information, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, periodicals, that will allow people to see different perspectives on key issues that they're facing today. They can also do it more directly by curating exhibits and selections of books that address pertinent topics. And they can also be very, even more outgoing than that by sponsoring lectures and panel discussions and other things, bringing information and allowing people to get out of their comfort zone in a way that is most easily for them without having somebody in their face telling them this is the way they should think. I'm also interested in this position because it is kind of a legacy for me. We just recently retired, so I'm a full-time resident here, but I've been coming to the Cape since I was 7 years old, and I remember well riding my bicycle up to see Miss Jane in the one-room library to see what she had picked out for me. My father was also on the board of trustees that shepherded the new library through, and I remember him talking about all of the regulatory and paperwork and financing and everything that went into that building. So I would like to be on the board to not only be a part of the community here and ensure that the library has everything that they need to be the active part of the community that they are, but also from a legacy perspective because I enjoyed it as a child. My father helped see the library today, and I'd like to see it through to the future. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Next. Hi, I'm Robin Rowe. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. I was born and raised in Massachusetts. I've lived in all 3 districts of the state. I'm going to cut my bio short because we don't have time, but I do have a master's degree in education with a library teacher focus. And I have lived here on the Cape full-time now for 8 years. We've owned our house for about 12 years. Since our move here, I've worked at the Eastham Chamber of Commerce, volunteered for the Orleans Firebirds, both as a host family and community relations representative, volunteered at the SPCA in Centerville, and now the ARL in Brewster, and the Eastham Thrift Shop, and at the library with a program called Device Advice. The Eastham Public Library's mission statement reads, "It is to be a safe and welcoming center for information, materials, services, and programs intended to strengthen community, enhance leisure time, open access to the latest technologies, and support lifelong learning." As a licensed high school librarian for 20 years, I also lived by such a statement. The experience I bring to the trustee position is valuable. I understand the necessity of libraries in our society and the role they play in our communities. Creating the library as a safe space for all my students was important. Many students chose the library as their respite during lunches, so much so that I began a lunch bunch book club since I had a captive audience. Public libraries are the safe zones for the community, a place to meet friends, make new ones, a place to use technology they may not have access to at home, a place to find answers, a place for a young family to start reading adventure with their children, a place to have a story read to you by a future MLB player outside, on the patio outside the children's library. To prepare for this position, I have attended library trustee meetings. I have read the Eastham Library Trustee Bylaws as well as the State of Massachusetts Library Trustee Bylaws. I believe as a lifelong learner, I have the knowledge, skill, and education to help the Eastham Public Library and this community continue to achieve its goals of its mission statement and its long-term goals. And thank you for this opportunity to serve my community.
Thank you. And next, Mike.
Hi, I'm Michael Narachi. I live on Kingsbury Beach Road with my wife Sarah and our 2 dogs, Maverick and Jackson. I am recently retired. I've spent my entire professional career in the television industry. The last couple decades, I was the lead director of the Red Sox broadcasts on Nicholson. So I don't know a lot of people here yet, but if you're a Red Sox fan, we've shared some laughs together and shed our share of tears together as well. I'm running for this position because I want to be a part of this community. Due to the requirements of my job, even when I was here, I wasn't really here. I was here to sleep, do laundry, and pack to get on the road with the team again. So this would be an opportunity for me to give back to the community. In addition to being a 9-time Emmy Award-winning director at Nicholson, I also served on a very highly functional management team that did quarterly management training. We often joke that Nicholson wasn't a TV station, but it was a business that happened to do television. I was a member of the budget committee. We developed the budget, presented it, and approved it. And there were a lot of times that I had to redline items that I submitted for the budget because it just didn't make fiscal sense for the company. So I'm not a yes man. I'm not a no man. I don't take no for an answer. I'll usually reply with a what if. And I think I would be a valuable addition to the Board of Trustees. The good news is, if you do decide to vote for one of the other candidates, you're in very good hands. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So we have 3 questions, and I just kind of want to keep our answers kind of pretty short and to the point, okay? And they're all very topical. Question number 1, we'll start and go this way. What's your position on book banning? There's a loaded question, isn't it?
We have discussed this in the past year at the library as a review of our policies. So the library has a specific policy if someone wishes to challenge a book in the collection. There's a form they have to fill out. This past year, we voted to add a clause to that you have to be a Eastham tax-paying resident in order to do that, so that we didn't have folks from not in our community coming to try to challenge anything in our collection, much to the point that everyone's saying here that Eastham is such a wonderful community to be a part of, so our library collection should reflect that.
Thank you.
I think the library has put in some good things to control the situation, but I don't think books should be banned ever under any circumstances. And, you know, I remember growing up, if I brought a book home from the library that my parents didn't agree with, I didn't get to read it. And really, that's the responsibility of the parents and not the responsibility of someone else's parent to tell what other kids should and shouldn't be reading. I think it's the responsibility of your house and not some committee or somebody else outside of your house. I don't think they should ever be banned under any circumstances.
Robin?
I agree with Robert on that statement, and as a librarian, I will tell you that it's your First Amendment right to read and take in knowledge for whatever you want, and no one has the right to take that First Amendment away from you. Again, parents have the right to control what their children read, and there's a way to flag accounts so that if a parent doesn't want a child to read Harry Potter because their child will become a wizard, true story, then you can flag that account so that wizards don't get to go home with that child, and that's fine, but you can't tell my child not to read Harry Potter. So I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that book banning is, or reconsideration of materials is what libraries call it, is a necessary thing for us to have. I think the library is pretty well protected by that, their program, and, you know, librarians have been doing that for years.
Mike?
I'm against book banning. I agree with Bob. It should be policed at home. If we're not in the position to determine what people want to read, can read, it should be done at the home.
Question number 2, we'll start with Mike, and then no, we'll go this way again. No, boom, boom. I'm confusing. I'm making sure everyone's staying awake here. Another sort of politically driven question, I think. How do you feel about hiring staff taking diversity into consideration?
Thanks. I'm a proponent of diversity, but I am first off, the person has to be qualified. I was a big advocate at Nicholson for diversity. The company had it in its mission statement to be diverse. I took it upon myself to mentor diverse candidates as well as non-diverse candidates, if you want to call them that. So I'm pro-diversity, but I'm also pro the most qualified person should get the job.
Robin?
But I agree. I think that your qualifications and your ability to do the job you've been applying for should be the number one priority for anyone hiring any person for any job. I don't think that, and that including everybody for the position. Everybody should be able to apply. And diversity is important, but also doing the best job you possibly can is also important.
Bob?
And I agree. I have struggled with the whole concept of mandated diversity. I can understand why there needs to be opportunity for everyone, but I don't think that you start out by mandating that you have to hire certain people. And in my career, I've actually hired people from diverse backgrounds in organizations that didn't have diverse backgrounds, and I've done it without even realizing it because they were the most qualified person for the job. And I think that should be the primary criteria for any position anywhere for anyone.
Sarah?
I'm going to answer this question from the perspective of running to be a trustee of the library. Trustees do not hire people at the library. That is the responsibility of the library director and the HR representative at Town Hall. And therefore, supporting the library director in all of the different ways that we can as trustees can help them realize their vision and how they want the staffing to look at the library. I will say when we look at the trustee goals, one of our goals is to have a diverse board of trustees so that we have different perspectives. And I am grateful that we have so many people running for the library board, and I kind of say it's my fault if I don't get reelected, because I really pushed for us to put out the word that we needed more people to be interested to run for the library. And we actually had, after Debbie Abbott posted on Facebook that there was an opening at the library, we had even more candidates than actually took out papers interested in being part of it. So that's an area that being a trustee, we can actually affect change, is having a diverse board.
Okay, we have one last question. It's kind of a nice thought question. I think your phone's going mad. No, no. It's actually, I think, a really nice thought question to kind of wrap up with. Somebody wants to know, what are the 3 most important values that public libraries should be upholding today?
Am I going first?
She's looking at you.
Okay. 3 values. I think that providing, I don't know if I'm going to give 3, but I'd love to tell a story of, we were just a few months ago doing a strategic planning workshop with the library director, and we were talking about the programs that are very well received and very well attended, like our winter concert series. And then we were talking about a kids program that a lot of folks went to. But then one of the other trustees pointed out, well, you know, there's this other event where only 5 people came to it. And that made a difference for those 5 people that evening to attend that event. And to me, that really represents what the library is for this community, is that it can have offerings that everyone enjoys, but if it also offers something that just 5 people found value in for 1 or 2 hours that day, you know, that is a really special addition to the community as well.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to come up with 3 or not, but we'll give it a shot. I think that the most critical aspect of a library is to make sure that it's open and available to all in the community, for everyone to be able to have access to the materials that are in the library. Then it's providing programs and tools and resources for the community that not only meet the community's needs, but allow them to be exposed to different perspectives, whether it's through panel discussions, lectures, movies, whatever it does, and the library does a great job of that. And they need to continue doing that as we move forward. And I don't have a 3rd one, I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. Robin?
I'm going to give a quote that I left out of my original introduction by Doug Wilhelm. He's an author. And he says, "A library is a house of hope. It's a place where we all, whatever our situation, can feed our ideas and develop our dreams." And that's what a library means to me since I was a little girl, that you can come, anyone can come and you can learn anything there. And the fact that our library provides that in so many different ways to the people in this community is so important. And just being able to have that safe space, and even if it's just because the power went out and you need to be warm, you know it's there, you know it's going to be there, and for me, it's home.
Thank you. Mike?
I say openness, welcome everybody, provide value through programs in the collection, and inclusion, and try to bring people into the library. It's a great library, and I think more people in town should use it.
Well, thank you all very much. Thank you again to our 4 Library Board of Trustee candidates, Sarah Higgins, Bob Harnett, Mike Narachi, and Robin Rowe. Thank you. And a big applause to everyone who stayed here throughout this whole thing and engaged and asked questions. Thank you all very much.
That concludes our event for tonight. Until next year. We'll see you all again, I hope. Our new round. I'm just thrilled that we have so many people here and a full house over here. So congratulations. You're doing a lot to support your community. Thank you.